Hello, and welcome to the new EURES webinar, Info from the Network, EURES in Action 2022. Today's agenda presents three main points. We will start with a brief introduction, consisting in a recap of the last EURES in Action event. Then our four training experts will show you the outcomes of the four workshops that took place during the event. On-site participants had the chance to register in one of the four workshops which focused on different aspects of the EURES communication. Today each expert will tell us more about the results of the workshop they hosted, giving us interesting insights on the solutions reached and the patterns needed to achieve them. In order, we will hear Communicating EURES within your organization and to stakeholders, hosted by Eleni Foulira. Communicating EURES to job seekers, in particular young people, hosted by Sikma. Communicating EURES to employers, hosted by Vleugel. Communicating EURES to potential members and partners, hosted by Ioustini Pilidi. Lastly, at the end of the webinar you will have the chance to ask questions directly to the training experts during a live Q&A session. Let's start with the recap of the 2022 EURES in Action event. The EURES in Action event took place on the 9th and 10th of June in the EY Wave Space in Rome. The main focus of the event was on the EURES communication. Representatives from 31 countries attended the event both on-site and online. During the 2 days of event, participants had the chance to hear interesting interventions by Ayla, Echo, and the keynote speaker Lars Duursma. On-site participants had also the opportunity to meet colleagues from all over Europe and share knowledge with them during the 4 thematic workshops. During the event, many member states presented their successful national communication products addressing specific target groups. At the end of the 2 days, a panel awarded the 3 best communication products. Together with networking and training activities, the attendees had also the chance to participate to quizzes concerning the EURES network. Now, let's watch a brief video recap of the event. Now it's time to leave the floor to our 4 training experts.
Hello, greetings from Athens, Greece, the hot and warm Athens. Thank you for joining us today for the webinar Info from the Network EURES in Action Event 2022. My name is Eleni Foulira, and I am the National Coordinator of EURES Greece. Today, my colleagues and I are going to present and share the outcomes of the workshops that took place in the EURES in Action event in Rome on the 9th and 10th of June 2022. I was invited as a training expert, and I would like to thank Ella and Ernst & Young about that, in order to participate at the event in the on-site groups and, of course, share the outcomes of the workshop, specifically my workshop. The thematic of my workshop was communicating the EURES network within our organization and the stakeholders. At the event, the participants were divided in 4 subgroups in order to present the reviews about the EURES services in the country, the suggestions, the problems, and of course, at the end, a slogan. The EURES network, as you know, was launched in 1994. It is a European cooperation between the public employment services, and it is designed to facilitate mobility. So the job seekers, the employers know about EURES. But what about the PES colleagues, our organization, the Public Employment Services, and the stakeholders? I'm going to present now and share the outcomes of our workshop. I'm going to share my screen because I would like to show you my presentation. In the first subgroup, there were the team members, Christiane, Gillian, Severin, Panagiotis, Roland, and Renata. What was discussed there is how to understand the best colleagues because of it is a multi-channel communication because of different demographics. There are a lot of colleagues in the PES in different regions, area, they have different tasks, different ages. So we must find a way to get in touch with them in order to present the services of the EURES network. How could we do that? We could do that through innovative ways of communication, like quizzes, podcasts, or maybe the internal social media. We should schedule meetings with them in order to inform them about the EURES network. What we also have noticed is that there is a lack of interest and time from the stakeholders. The PES colleagues and the stakeholders think that EURES is not the solutions they are after. And of course, there is an information overload. A lot of information in the portal, tools. So how could we make our message stand out? It is very important to present the idea and the services of EURES network. What is the task? What are the duties of the EURES advisors? What are the actions and the collaboration between our countries? The slogan that was said in this in the first subgroup was "Go further with EURES." In the second subgroups, the team members were Adrian, Natalia, Valeria, Bjorn, Yves, and Andriana. What was discussed was that EURES knows how to build international projects, to build new tools that can serve and also the local purposes. We have the EURES portal. It has almost 1 million job offers, CVs, and information about living and working conditions. All the CVs and the job offers are transferred from the public employment services to the EURES portal. So I think it's a tool that can also serve the local purposes. What was said that there is a multitasking in EURES, but there is a lack of time for EURES activities and communication with the PES colleagues. And the PES colleagues think that local and international objectives do not match, maybe because there are different labor markets, different tasks. This is why we have to find time, a way to approach the PES colleagues and give them the correct and right information what EURES is. The slogan in this group was, when people work abroad, they bring expertise back home. Don't be afraid of the boomerang effect. It is okay to be in mobility, but of course, you can always come back to your origin country and bring all the knowledge and expertise back. This is a win-win situation. In the third subgroups, the team members were Stephanie, Marlene, Eileen, Emma, Massimiliano, Hugh, and Agne. We noticed that in all our countries, in all the PES, there is a low awareness about EURES. And they have mentioned that there is no good connection inside and outside the PES with the EURES network. Also, a problem is bureaucracy. If we cannot approach our colleagues, if we cannot share what the purpose and the service of the EURES network is, then of course the connection does not exist. And of course we have to find the correct time and approach. What is very important is to map the stakeholders. Mapping the stakeholders also means mapping the labor market. We have to find them, map them, reach out on them, and inform them about the EURES services. So we can establish a connection, better connection inside and outside the network with the stakeholders and, of course, our PES colleagues. The slogan for this subgroup was, let's connect. In the four subgroups, the team members were Susanna, Sarah, Christine, Eva, Agne, Andrea, and Sabina. The question was for them, how should we communicate the outgoing? How should we find the way to integrate successfully the EURES network inside the PES? Should we involve the line manager? For me, yes, we should involve the line manager. It is very crucial to establish from the beginning a correct cooperation between our colleagues, the PES, the EURES advisor colleagues, and of course, inform and respect the line manager. What should we do? We could encourage the PES colleagues and the line manager to participate in EURES training. We have the classroom trainings, the virtual trainings, the webinars that provide great information about the labor market, about the topics, about the EURES services. And of course, we should personally involve the line manager, such as inviting them in meetings, informing them about the task of EURES and what EURES is going to do in the next years. The slogan for the fourth subgroups was, EURES, to know me is to love me. This is my favorite slogan. I'm going to stop the sharing. So this was my presentation. I would like to thank you for your patience. Please be well and stay safe. Thank you.
Hi, and welcome to the webinar of Info from the Network from the EURES services. My name is Kevin Sikma and I'm EURES advisor for the Netherlands. And some of you might have met me recently in Rome. I was at EURES in action and was trainer there for the second workshop we did, which was communicating EURES to job seekers and in particular to young people. So I hope you are watching all today because this is the information that you all put together. So let's get started. The information that we were challenged into disseminating and speaking of was of course information about how we can form strategies and communication towards job seekers in the European Union, European Economic Area and of course in Switzerland. And there were a few points there which were actually of quite importance because when we started speaking of these topics, a lot of things already quickly arose in the things that we had to tackle. So how do you convey a good message to a candidate? Well, first of all, you need to be authentic. And authentic means that you need to create content that is not readily available anywhere where you can perhaps Google it. So you need to be authentic and you need to be personable. So create a message that you are speaking of your own services and that you are speaking of your own organization. Also make sure that you lead with purpose. You don't want to just put any message out there, but you want to give a message that gives purpose to anything that your viewers might be looking for. So with that, you create a strong brand ethos. And with EURES, I believe we already have a very strong branding and also have, of course, a lot of information that is of interest to anyone that wants to make use of our services. But this is particularly important when you speak to young people, because they need to be able to relate to the branding that you are communicating. So make sure that whichever message you are communicating, you need to be positive, you need to be strong, but also you need to be entertaining, because you don't want them to move on after 3 seconds halfway through your message because it's a boring way of telling it to people. Not that boring is always bad, but you need to keep their attention. So instead of you being swiped out of the screen, off to the next information, you want to catch their attention and make sure they watch the whole information that you want to send. Now also see how this information fits into your mission and also fits into the progressive change that people are undergoing at the moment. So you always need to be relevant and make sure that the information that you're sending to your viewers is something that they can readily use and is always available for them when they need it. So it's fast-moving trends. It's fast-moving trends that you need to be able to leverage and use in your message when you try to communicate what it is that you want to say. Also, don't forget to respect their connectivity. Now, connectivity is a very big word for a lot of different ways to connect with people. But what you want to do is not to be in someone's face too much. So you need to respect their digital privacy. So when you relate or when you send the message out, make sure that you use the proper channels and not always send bombs of emails with lots and lots of information, but try to keep your message short and try to keep your message, of course, interesting. And this is not just words. We can say and speak and send a lot of words, but you can also do this by using very impactful visuals. Now, as you can see, I'm not really using a lot of visuals here, so this might be a little bit of a boring part of the presentation, but we'll get to some visuals later. And of course, maybe the most important thing that you want to do is keep the people that you're speaking to interested. So the message that you're sending needs to keep them interested and engaged to what you are trying to say. So with all of this information in our hands, we started thinking about how can we use this information to create some new ideas for communication and how we can use this information to create some taglines that we can then implement in the messages that we want to convey. And this, of course, I've done together with all the people that I met that day during the workshop. And of course, they did all the work. The only thing I had to do is put it all together. So thank you very much for all of your input. And hopefully with this extra information for the network, we can all learn something from each other. So the first group that we sat down with in the second workshop were Anna, Amadeus and Jana. And the challenge here was to discover what actually was needed to catch their attention, to find connectivity, but also see them not just as a single user. And I think this is something that I've learned also with talking to everyone at the event, that we need to take into account that we have to deal with individuals. And these individuals, you cannot just have one communication or one message that you spread to the whole group. So you need to be aware that you also need to tailor the message that you have to individuals. Also try and target the people on a local level by leveraging your message through influencers, for instance, or try and create ambassadors for the brands that you have and the services that you offer. And this idea, of course, you can also implement while promoting working abroad, working in different countries through these ambassadors. So what we came up with as a hashtag or as a tagline is that you need to develop your passion with EURES. So I kind of like that one because I'm very passionate about EURES services, and this is also a message that I would like to communicate to anyone that I speak to. So this was the first group. Then with the second group that we had the discussion with, that was with Ilse, Trine, Sofia, Nadia, Pietro and Agija. What we were talking about was how to meet people, physical or perhaps online. We know the online spaces, MS Teams, breakout groups, and although it's effective, it's not always personal. And also how to use, again, social media and influencers to convey your message through blogs, through perhaps presentations, or through little short TikTok videos. So we wanted to go where the young people are going. We go to schools, we go to festivals, maybe beaches or pubs, and gaming platforms perhaps, or other means of social media. And the whole idea behind this was to find connectivity with the group of young people in their own environment, their own digital environment. So to add to that, the tagline that we came up with in this group was Jump to Europe with EURES. A digital jump in this case, but this could lead, of course, to other ways of connecting in digital communication. Now moving on to the next group that we were with. The next group, of course, was Jean, Alicia, Camila, Jana and Annabella. And with this group we talked about how we can catch the attention of the job seekers and the attention of the youth. And this is always something that I keep pressing on, that it's hard to keep, not just get the attention, but also to keep the attention. So how do we use the right media and how do we find the language that the young people speak, but also the topics that they seek? And this is a big challenge. And we talked about different ideas, different opportunities, and also spoke about what if we did not have any budget, what could we create? And I think one of the great ideas that they came up with was a Netflix series, such as broadcasting a documentary or filming young people that move abroad or live abroad, just to give some way of a view in the life, in the exciting life of international labor, international travel, and creating, of course, your own community in a different country. Finding out what the challenges are, or finding out what inspired them to make the move. And in doing so, we want to showcase that these opportunities are there. Perhaps not for everyone, but for everybody that is excited and is interested, that there is an option and a possibility to get in touch with the right person and get in touch with the right organization to find the information. So the working title for this was Love, Job and Other Stuff. So I kind of like that one as well, because it triggers you an interest to see what would be, apart from love and job, the other stuff that they can find out to. And I do remember Trina was also part of this work group. So I do think there's some names that got changed around. So apologies if anyone's watching that thought, hey, that was my idea. Let's just say we did it collectively. You did it collectively. Then the next group that I was sitting down with was Tiberio, Christian, Karina, Mario and Catherine. And the topic there that they came up with was how does youth respond to the message that we are sending? Again, which platform do we use, but particularly how do we communicate through these platforms? And the communication through these platforms is every time the challenge again. I've said it a few times before. Trying to keep the attention of the person watching is something that we really need to figure a way out where we can promote our services, but also keep them interested and positively activated while we are trying to connect them to Europe. So how to target youth, maybe through peer-to-peer, through experiences, through people that they can relate to, and also perhaps communicate in a two-way setting, not just sending the information, but actually sitting down and listening to what they have to say. What happens in their daily lives? Where do they get their passion from? And also how they want to go into Europe in their own way. So the hashtag obviously here would be EURES your way. Then finally, the group of Ana Lopez, Jenna, Petra, Annelies and Lucy. Here, of course, we had, again, a slightly different subject because everybody had their own creative ideas. And what they came up with was that how to make EURES known to people, to young people, to everyone. So how not to be embarrassing when using TikTok. I mean, it took me about, I think, 3 days to learn how to do the swish. Everybody still knows what that is. Probably not. I'm not going to do it here on the camera, but it is a bit of a challenge. But now everything moves so fast. Everybody's on TikTok. And would I be embarrassed to use TikTok? Maybe. It's just something that if you start using these platforms, you need to stay relevant. You need to keep posting information on a constant basis, because otherwise people will not follow the person that is creating the content. So how to be interesting, how to stay interesting, that is also a challenge. So make it like a game for them. Use, again, ambassadors. Use people that can promote the message that you are sending. Because if they can relate to the sender, they are more interested and more inclined to listen to the message that they have. So the term that we came up with was get a new life with EURES. We thought first get a life, but that might have been a little bit too much. So get a new life with EURES. So when we look at all these items and when we look at all these sheets and the information that we spoke about with each other, we kind of figured out a few points that we thought was communally interesting. So when we look at personal and relatable information, you need to communicate that in a way that directly speaks to the person that you are communicating to. So it's not some imaginary group of people that you're trying to connect to. These are real people, these are real persons, these are real candidates that are interested in what you have to say. You are the professional, and they will hang on every word that you have, as long as you keep them interested in the message that you are sending. And in doing so, you hope to create loyalty, because you want them to be loyal to your company, and you want people to be loyal to the services that you offer, not just for that one time where you tell them that working in Europe is great, but also for the next time when they need to find out how it is to work and live in a certain country, or when they want to have some extra support, for instance, through targeted mobility schemes. You want to keep the loyalty so they will come back to you when they have a question. Also, remember that the new generations, they're all digital natives, which pretty much means that they know more about digital communication than you and me together, probably. And this will keep on going, and this will evolve. And of course, the preferences in communication are for these groups not just through text and digital media, but we find out more and more and more that face-to-face communication is also very important. And I think that's the last point that I'm adding here. With all the changes that we are going through in Europe, in the world, where through COVID and everything that is happening, digital communication is becoming more of a factor in everything that we do, we should never forget that face-to-face communication is still one of the best ways to connect with people. Because by connecting face-to-face, you can not just only convey your message, but you can listen to what they have to say, and you can use and convey emotions to one another. And with this, you will understand the person that you're speaking to even better than just by sending a message through social media and digital platforms. So the last question remains, what will you do next? And that is a question I cannot answer for you, but I am very curious to see what that would be. So I hope to hear all the great ideas at some point later when we meet again. But for now, I thank you for your attention, and I hope to see you somewhere soon in Europe.
Hello, all of you. My name is Jan Vleugel, and I work in Denmark, for EURES in Denmark. Very pleased to meet you all here online, and it was a pleasure to participate in workshop number 3 in the EURES event in Rome, Workshop number 3, communicating EURES to employers. We had lively discussions in the 4 subgroups, and I will try to explain the outcome of the workshop here. But let's start with a fact, because employers are quite crucial for EURES. No employers, no vacancies. Or said in another way, we have vacancies, but who are the employers behind it? Subgroup number 1. Focused a bit on, is EURES known? Is it known enough? And that gives some problems. For many companies, and maybe for job seekers as well, but for many companies in particular, EURES might be a secret department. They have never heard of EURES. Maybe they are not ready for us. They have maybe never thought about the possibility of recruiting from abroad. In Work in Denmark here, we, since the 1st of January, we deal with small companies with skilled labor. That's a new group for us. Many small companies, they didn't even think of recruiting from abroad. But on the other hand, many job seekers want to work abroad. There's a very big mobility, international mobility in Europe. So the employers ask EURES, what's in it for me? And I found very good inspiration in this big brochure on the EURES portal, which is called EURES, Recruiting in Europe, a guide for employers. It's a bit difficult to find, but if you Google it, you'll get there. What can EURES do, what others can't? And that's also a bit to do with, what the subgroup mentioned. They are not interested in getting involved in the EURES activities because they don't know it maybe. And that might be a difficult thing to explain. You have a network, we can advise companies, we can advertise in the portal, we can advertise in specific countries and broaden the pool of candidates for the employers. So how to convince employers to use EURES? And we have talked about giving some examples, storytelling in the social media, telling other companies that there is a company who've used EURES and had a very good result with it. In Denmark, in the old days before we were very much on social media, we had a brochure and we had some companies mentioning what EURES did for them. But now there's storytelling on social media. We have also, and that's what the group was mentioning, we have to reach out. Where are the employers? We have to contact the employers' organizations, Chamber of Commerce. And we also maybe should go on local job fairs where companies are, local and regional job fairs, and tell them, did you ever think of international recruiting? And EURES can help you. In Odense, every year we have a big job fair with local and regional companies. We just go around and tell them, if you can't find the specific qualified people in Denmark, we know the way to many international candidates. The group mentioned integration of PES and EURES. Not in every country EURES is integrated in the PES or PES in EURES. In Denmark, it isn't. So some years ago, we had a campaign where we visited together with the job center, local job centers, we visited the companies and told them what EURES can do. And also when local job centers are on their own visiting companies, they have us in mind. We have friends in EURES. So that's what the group decided. All these things, the good things about EURES, maybe as an employer, you should give EURES just a chance. And that's what the slogan was for workshop subgroup number 1. EURES for employers who at best do the test. We are here and we can help you. Number 2, subgroup number 2. And if I should say one word about workshop number 2, then it should be the word homework. What do we mean by that? As EURES, you need to do your homework. You need to know where the companies are, what their needs are. Are there shortages on the labor market? Where are they? I think You can confirm, all of you, we have shortages everywhere in Europe, and in many cases we have the same shortages. So what does a specific employer need in your country? Is it possible to attract the right candidates from abroad? We have to map, as the group said, we have to map the labor market. We have to map the employers. We have to think about who they are. We need to have a kind of a system to register them. Here in Denmark, we have a very nice system. It's called VREGO, and I will explain because it's a Danish term. VI means virksomhed, means company. REG means register. We register the companies. Then we only need the last one, the O. In fact, it's not an O, it's a circle. It's a circle with different colors, meaning that indicating how long time ago did EURES have a contact with the company. Green, only 3 months. Red, 9 months, too long time ago. And in that case, we do our company registration, our mapping in a digital way. And that's what the group indicated. Create ID cards for the companies to find out what are the specific needs for these companies. And in the end, of course, we need to have long-lasting relationship communication with companies. But a long road also have to start. So in the beginning, it might be very, very difficult to get through to a company. Maybe we should visit a company, and many of us do, to get an impression about a company. Visit them, see who they are, who are the people working there, what are they looking for. And communicating with the company, it's a balance. Some are more ready for international recruiting than others. So we have to be honest, we have to be realistic. And if we promise something, we have to keep the promises. We have to follow up. If we said we will be back, we have to keep in touch all the time. And that's what we mean with do your homework. And that will benefit. In that way, I think we all have examples how we cooperated with companies. I started EURES working for EURES in 2007, and I have had a very good relationship with some companies. I think you all know them. EURES UK unfortunately has fallen out, but Concentrix, I think you all have experience with them. They were all over Europe, participating in many of our local and regional job fairs, and we had a long-lasting relationship, communication with them, how they could use EURES and how they could benefit from us. I think you all have your own examples. Subgroup number 3. Let's start the other way around. They started with a slogan. Think inside the box. Don't reinvent the wheel. We already have many tools in our toolbox. So think inside the box. We have to strengthen the EURES network instead of competing. We can use each other just to find out what works for you. Can we use your experience to find out if that also works for us? And that's, I think, the very good thing with the EURES network. We can learn from each other. We can share good practices in the network. And in these times when we met in Rome, I think we had many good talks with each other. How do you do this? How do you do this? That can we learn from each other? But also in these virtual times, all the long periods we have been home with our computers and doing things virtual, it's very easy nowadays just to team up with a colleague in another country and say, wow, you did that. How did you do that? I remember when working in Denmark, EURES Denmark started with European online job days back in 2015. It didn't go so very, very well. And it withheld us for a long period to have a European online job day again. But then we found out that many countries have good experience with it. And we asked, how do you do? How did you do that? What can we learn from you? So in that way, invite your colleagues that focus on what we have, because we have many good things. We have the EURES portal. We have all the good websites. Every country has their own websites. We have the CV database. We have our social media, and how do we use social media? How does it work in your country? And how do we use that in our communication with the employers? In Denmark, we have a very good LinkedIn, especially targeted towards employers and giving good examples on how employers can attract good candidates. People come to Denmark to work, and how did they do that? Yes. So thinking inside the box, we have the tools. Let's use them in a right way, and let's learn from each other to do that in the way that fits our country and that fits our employers. We can learn from each other. Subgroup number 4. 4, yes. And if I should have one sentence of what we did, what I discovered in group number 4, it's EURES in a changing world. Of course, we have been through the changes in COVID, but we also have seen changes in countries becoming from outgoing countries becoming incoming countries. And someone's outgoing is someone else's incoming. So things belong together. The labor market is changing. And especially we focused a bit on the incoming markets and the incoming channels. For some companies, it's difficult to get employees in the country itself on a national basis. And they perhaps didn't think about EURES, how you could use EURES to attract candidates from abroad. So in that way, it might be a bit, as we call in Denmark, uphill. You have to do a bit extra to make EURES, to make companies aware of EURES and what we can do to attract people from abroad. Again, how to convince them. Stories, unique selling point. What's in it for the employer? And I think, as I read somewhere in the recruiting guide for EURES towards companies, and I read somewhere that, in fact, EURES does not have to sell anything, not the product. We can be ourselves, we can be neutral, we can be objective. And in an objective way, guiding the employers in the big game of international working mobility in Europe. So trying to engage with the employers, find out where the employers are, what they need, and how they can use EURES, and what can we offer. The subgroup talked about the TMS, the targeted mobility schemes, to get candidates from abroad, to attract candidates from abroad. But EURES can do much more for employers who are not so used to dealing with EURES or with international recruitment. We can tell them, we can give them information about where are the candidates you are looking for. Maybe they are in a very specific geographical area, maybe in one specific university in the north of Italy, and all the customer support service centers, attracting people for different languages. Scandinavian is also is always a problem, but you can companies can recruit here in Scandinavia. So also practical information. For many companies, it's scary to get someone from abroad working in the company. But EURES can offer lots of things, lots of practical help with registrations. Where do you register? What about my healthcare? What about taxes? What about educations from abroad? Also there, EURES can advise or refer to the relevant organizations who can do this. This subgroup had even 3 slogans. And these 3 slogans means EURES works for you, dear employer. We've tried things before. We are here. Use us. We work for you. And a very good one, find your way to employees with EURES. We know the way how to attract the relevant candidates from abroad. And we are here to help you. And we have done that for more than 25 years. And we still do, and we keep doing it. EURES never stop recruiting. So, as the end of this webinar, this workshop number 3, communication towards employers. In the subgroups, thank you all for the good discussion. Keep in touch with each other and with the whole EURES network, because that's the way how we can inspire each other and learn from each other. And to all of you, we hope that the participants of workshop number 3 have given you inspiration for your way to communicate EURES to your employers. Tusind tak. Thank you. Grazie.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today and welcome to the webinar. The objective of my presentation today is to share with you the results of the workshop, which took place in Rome early in June, on the topic of how we can communicate EURES more effectively to potential members and partners with innovative communication approaches. Today, I will also illustrate the successful example of the University of Cyprus, which is a partner in the EURES network, and I will share with you some best practices. Before starting the presentation, I would like to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Ioustini Pilidi. I'm a EURES advisor and training expert with a passion for traveling and cooking. I'm from Cyprus and I'm living in Nicosia, which is the capital of the island. I work at the University of Cyprus at the Career Center, and I'm in charge of the Career Office. My main role is to design and implement programs and services that enhance the employability of the students and alumni and connect them with the labor market. I'm also a mother of 2 wonderful kids, Criseda and Hector. Now, let's move to the first part of the presentation. First of all, a few words about the workshop. The workshop focused on the main goal of EURES. EURES aims to innovate, overcome challenges, and enlarge the network to new members and partners, sharing best practices on how to approach potential new colleagues and establish fruitful cooperation. The objective of the workshop was to bring together the EURES advisors in order to discuss key benefits and advantages, explaining why potential members and partners will join EURES, assess today's EURES communication to potential members and partners, and identify innovative ways to attract new organizations and potential benefits arising from enhanced cooperation. In other words, 4 teams of 6 EURES advisors had worked together, identified challenges, suggested innovative ideas, and created slogans that will contribute on the communication strategy of EURES in terms of engaging new members and partners. So, the first team pointed out an important challenge: how to work within the network to share approaches and make sure that countries with limited or no experience on how to attract or communicate to new members and partners can learn from countries with larger experience. They suggested the idea of the designing of a buddy or a mentoring system within the network with a supportive platform, an online platform to share approaches on how to communicate with members and partners. Their slogans are: be my M&P buddy, M&P buddy, or EURES buddy. The second team discussed deeply on how to ensure that potential members and partners know EURES and the potential benefits of joining the network, and of course, how to contact them. Their ideas are to contact universities, first of all, to be part of the EURES network as main pools of newly graduates, new job seekers. And of course, organizing EURES networking events to bring organizations together. The slogans that support their ideas are spread the word EURES, connecting with EURES, start with EURES, boost your career with EURES. Here we come to the next theme, which indicated the significant challenge of how to cultivate a culture of acceptance within the network towards member and partners that already work with EURES in one or more countries. How to use EURES advisors as ambassadors and multipliers, as they know the environment, the organizations, and how to best approach them with the suitable and targeted communication approaches. So their ideas are to make EURES advisors ambassadors of the network and using tailor-made communication based on the different target groups. The ideas are supported by the slogan, Stronger, Better EURES. Last but not least, team number 4 pointed out the challenge of quality. How to find the right member and partners, creating a good win-win situation. How to work with new and existing member and partners, not just on paper, but in practice, motivating the EURES staff to work with them and both to work with each other. Their idea is to make a SWOT analysis, writing down the strengths and weaknesses of each one, and trying to take advantage of the opportunities and face the threats and challenges. Try to motivate each other and create different formats and exercises to work together. Their slogan, we want you, be part of EURES, or boarding completed, hurry up. These valuable ideas and suggestions lead me to my next point, the case of the University of Cyprus, as an example of a strategic partner in the EURES network. The University of Cyprus is a public university and a partner in the EURES network since 2019. In consultation with the National Coordination Office in Cyprus, that is the Department of Labour, we, the Career Centre and the Mobility Office of the University of Cyprus work closely and efficiently together. Based on the annual action plan, me and my colleague Emma Zeniu, as EURES advisors at the University of Cyprus, we provide information, advice and guidance to students, graduates and job seekers. We organize events and informative presentations, and we disseminate via our social media, career platforms and websites, and email campaigns, several online job events or other kind of information, both to students and alumni and to companies and organizations. Of course, this is not our best practices. Our best practice is the combination of EURES with Erasmus Plus program. What does this mean? We encourage our students and newly graduates to search for employers and opportunities through the EURES portal and network, and take advantage of the Erasmus Plus placement funding to take their first step abroad. The combination of the two programs has benefits both for job seekers and employers. On the one hand, the job seekers get funding for their mobility and language training. On the other hand, the employer has the opportunity to assess whether the candidate fits the company and the job role. Our experience shows that we have successful examples of interns that got offers for permanent jobs after their placement. At the same time, we host bilateral meetings with EURES members of other countries, and we work targeted on the placement and employment of newly graduates in the sectors in the STEAM and education sector. And this brings us to the end of this presentation. I would be happy to answer any questions at the Q&A session, and of course to hear any other ideas from you. See you.
Thank you for your attention. Now it's time to address your questions directly to our training experts. As a general rule, we kindly ask you to type your questions in the comments section, indicating the name of the expert you want to address. The training experts will read the question and answer to you live on video. Please, consider that due to the streaming, there will be some seconds of delay. In case of problems, please, let us know via chat.
We're live. Okay, so good morning, everybody. Welcome to this webinar. Today's session was devoted to the EURES in Action event we had in Rome last month. And today with me, I'm Emanuele, training provider. I would like to thank Eleni Foulira, national coordinator from Greece, Jan Vleugel from Denmark, and Kevin Sikma from the Netherlands. So let's have a very quick Q&A session. If there are any questions, you're welcome here. You can write question via chat, and our expert will be able to answer your question. So first of all, a first question from my side. Eleni, how did it go? How was the event over there? How was the experience?
It was awesome. It was great. We missed having on-site events and meetings, so it was great to see all the colleagues again. And I think the workshops went good, and we discussed a lot of things, had a lot of comments and views about our organizations. And I think, as you saw in the presentation, the outcomes were okay. So I think it went well.
Yeah, speaking of the presentation and outcomes, Jan, what do you, how did you see? You have already mentioned the outcomes, but do you think, how many things do you think will be feasible? How many things you wish Ella will implement, even with your support in the future?
Yeah, I think the outcome of the groups was quite good, and I think although we know many things, we have maybe also wishes how we could see that EURES and communication would develop in future. And I think there were some good things to pick up from this from these workshops, from all 4 workshops, and really hope that that Ella will pick the good things up. And I think, also speaking on behalf of everyone, that we, if there is a need for some assistance, we would like to help out there.
Absolutely, thank you, Jan. And Kevin, regarding the colleagues, we have seen a good interaction, even live. We had a lot of streams, a lot of views, especially on the during the workshops. Sorry, not the workshop, but during the presentation from our experts. We also had the presentation from the external expert, Lars Tursma. How did you find the presentation? Was it inspiring?
Yeah, I really liked it, the one that Lars was doing, because I kind of like stole some ideas of him later on when he motivated us in creating taglines and how to, you know, share information that is interesting for people, how you stay relevant, you know, and also to always end your presentation not so much with are there any questions, but more with, you know, where to go next or what ideas do we have. So you want to have people start thinking about all the interesting things that they can do themselves. So I think the speaker that we had was very inspiring, was very supportive for the EURES network with the ideas that he was offering. And I think we all learned quite a few new things from what he was telling us.
Excellent. We have the first question on chat from Michael van Smorenberg. I apologize for my pronunciation. A question to Eleni. What do you exactly mean with the boomerang effect you mentioned?
It meant that it is okay, as I said, to move to another country from a mobility, but also if someone wants to return back to their country, of course, they will see it as that you will bring all the knowledge, all the experience back. So I think it's a positive. I think that's what the boomerang effect, because sometimes I have the feeling when I was speaking with job seekers, when they returned, they saw it as a failure, that I went in another country, that I didn't succeed, and I came back. But it's not such a case. You came back, you bring all the experience, the knowledge, and this is an advantage for the person, and of course, all for us that they came back.
Excellent, thank you. In the meantime, I repeat, if there are any questions, colleagues watching the webinar can ask questions by writing via chat, and we'll be able to read the chat just for the next, let's say, 5-10 minutes. So then we the webinar will approach its end. So just another question for the three of you. In the meantime, sorry to say that Ioustini Pilidi, the fourth expert today, was unable to join us. But of course, if you have any question, you can send an email to each of the experts here. You can find them on it's also on the EURES platform, on the EURES extranet. You have the contacts over there. Just a question for the three of you. How was the experience? So it was the first time after a lot of time you went there physically. How was the experience after the pandemic situation? Was it a long time ago we had the last event together? How was the feeling during the workshops?
Well, it was, in fact, I think it was a bit overwhelming. It was fantastic. It was finally in real life to be able to meet each other and sit down face to face and talk about the subjects of our daily life, how we communicate with employers, stakeholders, job seekers, and everyone else. And that's the heart of EURES, and giving each other the inspiration and being on site and cooperating. That's EURES. That's the EURES family. That was a really great experience. And I hope all of you watching us now will have the same feeling.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with you there, Jan. You said that beautifully, as always. Also, maybe not everything went right on those days, but with the support of EY that we got there, as well as from all the EURES colleagues from the network, I think we made it into 2 days to remember, and also to look forward to again seeing each other face to face. It's just the whole experience of being able to interact with each other again and have discussions and have ideas and see each other in real life. I think that if that was just one of the goals, I think that is, from my opinion, the main goal, and we achieved that perfectly with everybody that was there. So yeah, for me, it was a great experience.
Exactly. What we value in EURES is the networking. So I think the last event was in 2019. It was long ago. So when we had the opportunity to be on site again and meet all our colleagues, instead of just having these small pictures in our PCs and laptops, I think we were overwhelmed, and we were happy again to be together and speak. And so, like I said, we value the networking in the EURES family.
Yes, indeed, definitely. Okay, I see there is just one question, but it's just for the training provider. Is it possible to get the presentation as a PowerPoint? You will find the next days on the EURES extranet all materials from our EURES training experts, so the outcomes of the four workshops. Just another reminder, you can find on chat the link for the satisfaction questionnaire to evaluate this webinar. And I only have to thank our expert, Eleni, Jan, and Kevin for the marvelous presentation. And I really hope you will be able to join us for the next webinar session in the future. So thank you very much, and have a nice day.
Thank you also, everyone.
Thank you very much. A nice day and a nice summer.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.